So today is World Sight Day, the 12th of October, a very, very, very special day. And I've got a very special person, Alice Forde. Welcome, Alice.
Thanks, Ellen. I'm delighted to be here.
So World Sight Day is all about obviously sight. So hence why we've got you today talking about your experience working in the vision field. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
So, as you said, my name is Alice Forde. I am Director of Regulatory Affairs for Europe for medical devices for Bausch Lomb. I've worked in this role for about a year and a half now. I've been in the medical devices space for the last 27 years, which seems like a long time, but it went literally in the blink of an eye. So I am absolutely privileged to lead a fantastic team of regulatory professionals who are based all across Europe. Our European region has 41 countries in all, so it's quite a large area. And really what my team are focused on is ensuring that we comply with all of the regulations and laws and standards across the region to make sure that we can maintain our products on the market there.
So you've been working for 27 years across a range of different products. So what is it that sort of what's a preconception you might have had about working in the eye care industry that maybe was a myth that then you realized wasn't true when you actually found yourself working in it?
Well, the first one really was, in my head, it was contact lenses and glasses. And that was it. I had no concept of anything else until I came to work for Bausch Lomb, really. And then I just got such a surprise because I did not know that you could get vitamins for your eyes. I did not know that there were so many different types of wipes and creams and ointments and gels. I didn't know that Bausch Lomb has a huge portfolio, which includes over-the-counter and prescription pharmaceuticals, which includes supplements, which includes a whole range of surgical equipment, intraocular lenses, all sorts of stuff like that. And for me, this was completely new. And again, as I said, my own, I suppose, frame of reference for it was so narrow. It was a real eye-opener, if you'll pardon the pun, to come in and find out that there was so much more to it. And, and with that, the fascination with the breadth of what not just Bausch Lomb have, but all of the companies in the eye care space have as well.
So if you make that like regulatory, why is that interesting or important to have like that broad product portfolio? How does that change the way you do things as a regulatory professional?
So I guess really, if you are limited in your portfolio and you have only one device or a number of devices, there's only so many different types of rules and regulations that you can apply to those. Where you have variation, you're looking in particular for Europe across the different classifications. So then what you're looking at is, okay, depending on what classification my device is, what kind of evidence do I need to demonstrate that it's safe and effective? And that's where it gets really interesting. You're looking at your clinical evidence, you're looking at whether your device meets state of the art, you're looking at what in its entirety goes into that dossier and that portfolio to demonstrate that your device is safe and will, be easily usable and safe for patients to use.
So it gives you a little bit of a broader exposure, if you like.
It absolutely does. And really, there is only benefit to be gained from that, because I think, for regulatory, it's important not to isolate yourself into one little corner of the world. Learning is key, and you have to just broaden your mind, be open at all times to take on something new. In my past, I had a very, very small amount of pharmaceuticals experience. And while my role at the moment is mainly focused on medical devices, I do have pharma MDs. So again, that's another opportunity for me to learn and to grow my own knowledge base. And I guess, it takes the rigor out of it as well, and I guess another myth that I'll bust for you is that the regulatory side of things in medical devices is boring, and in particular, in the sight space, in the eye care space, because again, people tend to think of it as being very limited. It's anything but. Honestly, no 2 days have been the same since I started in this role, and it's just, there's so much to take in. It's the challenge is keeping pace with it, Eleanor. That's really the challenge.
Yes. How does it compare to some of the other companies that you've worked for?
I would say it is probably very different in terms of the different technologies that you're dealing with. Things like your quality management system and your basic standards and stuff like that are all very similar. We still need to be compliant with MDR. We need to look at all of that piece. But I guess it's just, so for me, really where it stood out to me was when I started to do some product training at the very start, and got to see some fantastic recordings of procedures like cataract surgery and glaucoma procedures and stuff like that. And for somebody who really, I'm not squeamish, but I would be squeamish about the eyes until I started to learn more about them. That for me is a big difference. It's so minute, it's so precise, where some of the other devices that I would have worked on in the past wouldn't have been on that scale. They would have been bigger, they would have been more robust. I mean, if you look at a lens, for example, it's just so thin and so tiny and so delicate. The technology and the innovation that goes into building that and putting it together is really quite outstanding.
Have you got one more myth for me? I like to go with three.
I do, yeah. And here's one. Lenses are not difficult to wear and they're not difficult to put in. And people tend to think, oh, I don't want to put it in my eye. Don't worry about that. And again, this is something that I learned since I came into the eye care space. Your eye care practitioner will guide you along the way. They will find the correct lens for you. They'll show you how to put it in. They'll give you a trial set. So for anyone out there who is thinking of getting contact lenses and is a little bit apprehensive about it, go for it. You won't know yourself. You won't look back.
So what do you think it takes to be successful? Because you mentioned the fast pace, right? And you said that, it moves very, very quickly in this market. What do you think it takes to be successful in this field as a regulatory professional?
So I think being on top of your game in terms of regulatory intelligence is the number one. And that itself is the biggest challenge that we have. I mean, I am absolutely fortunate and blessed, as I said, to have a fantastic team of people who work with me. They are the experts. Honestly, they are the ones that keep tabs on these things. But what we have seen, particularly in Europe of late, is that, it's feast or famine. We get very little information and then all the guidance has come at once. So it can be difficult to keep on top of those. And you really do need to develop and hone that skill of being able to understand and interpret a guidance or a regulation, being able to apply it. And in addition to that, being able to look out there and see what else is relevant so that, you're not at cross purposes and that you can make sure that you balance all of the information and, make the right determination at the end of it. That's not easy. And particularly, I think, I'm lucky I work for a large company. For smaller companies, that can be a real challenge where, people don't have the time or they don't have the resources to keep on top of that.
Yeah. And regulatory intelligence is something that we're seeing becoming more and more important as time goes on. So it's good to see that you guys are already on top of that. Tell me one thing that surprised you then about working in this space.
So I guess one thing I did notice, which I was surprised at, was that there aren't as many companies in the eye care space. I have been coming from a world of, cardiology catheters and stuff like that. And, I was used to, how many companies you meet and deal with and all of that. Whereas in eye care, to me, it seems definitely smaller. And then I suppose connected to that, it means that you absolutely have to build those networking relationships and collaborative discussions with your colleagues in other companies, from an eye care point of view, because I suppose it's very different for us. We can be a little bit on our own at times, and you cannot work in a silo. You've got to build those connections. Working through organizations like Euron Contact and MedTech Europe and the Irish MedTech Association, what I would say to everyone is if you're not involved in those organizations, then you absolutely should be. Where it gives you the advantage is you've got a network of people that you can make a call to or shoot an email to and say, hey, we're experiencing this. What do you think? Have you ever come across it? You're not breaking any confidentiality barriers there, but it means that you have someone who's in a shared space to have that discussion with. It also means that, when the time comes where you need to lobby for something or try to advocate for change, that you're part of that discussion and your voice is heard. And if you're in a part of the industry where there are a less number of companies, that's absolutely critical.
Yeah. So tell me one thing that you absolutely love about working in the vision space.
So for me, really, it's back to my own why. I need to feel like I make a difference. And for me, if I feel like I'm making a difference, then that's it for me. But, in Bausch Lomb, our mission is to help our customers see better, to live better. And it's very simple, but it's very true. each and every one of us at some point in our lives will need glasses, or we'll have a procedure done with our eyes, or we'll be looking after a family member or a friend that, you know, needs support and help from the eye care space. It's day-to-day life, you know, it's there all the time, you know, and really and truly for me, everything that I do helps our customers see better, to live better. Give you an example. Recently, my sister had surgery for glaucoma. Now, in the past, I wouldn't have known the first thing about it. I would have had to look it up. I would have been a bit apprehensive and a bit nervous. Instead of that, luckily for me, I was able to sit her down and go, this is a very straightforward procedure. You'll be in and out in the same day. You know, you won't even notice that it's done, and your vision will be great afterwards. You know, and for me, that was the personal connection, and I was able to make a difference. And that's just an example from my own family. You know, I mean, I feel that value in my job every day of the week. And for me, that's what I love about it.
Alice, that was super inspirational. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your ideas, and happy World Sight Day.
Thanks, Ellen. I'm delighted to be here to share in this conversation with you.